houses with bright lights, and children eagerly awaited the moment to open their presents. At the Parker family's house, a mysterious package appeared on the porch without a sender. The family found it when they returned from picking out their Christmas tree. It was an old box wrapped in deep red paper with a black ribbon. There was no label, but Emily, their 9-year-old daughter, was captivated by it. She insisted on opening it that very night. Inside the box, they found an antique wooden doll, carefully hand-carved. It wore a red suit, and its eyes were made of dark glass that seemed to follow anyone who looked at it. A small note accompanied the doll. "I am the spirit of Christmas joy. If you care for me, I will make this the best Christmas of your life." That night, Emily placed the doll, which she decided to call Nick, next to the fireplace. While the family slept, something strange happened. The living room clock, which had been broken for years, started chiming at midnight. The temperature dropped drastically, and a faint, childlike giggle echoed through the house. The next morning, the Parkers found scratch marks on the walls as if something sharp had clawed at the paint. The Christmas ornaments were broken and the lights on the tree had burned out. However, Emily was safe, quietly playing with Nick in the living room. In the following days, things became even more unsettling. The mother heard faint giggles coming from the kitchen while she was alone. One night, as she tried to sleep, she saw a small figure standing at the foot of her bed. She quickly turned on the light, but there was no one there. Emily also began talking to someone unseen. She would say things like, "He told me to be good, Mommy." The father, while examining the doll, discovered something carved on its back. "Once you invite me, you cannot escape." Alarmed, he took the doll to the basement and locked it in a wooden box, sealing it with chains. That night, the house was plunged into darkness. The Parkers heard slow, deliberate footsteps coming up the basement stairs. It was impossible. No one was supposed to be down there. The lights flickered back on. The doll was sitting next to Emily, who was smiling at her parents without breaking eye contact. Desperate, the Parkers sought help from the local church. The priest, upon seeing the doll, turned pale. He told them the story of a toy maker who, over a century ago, cursed his creations after being shunned by the town's children. According to legend, the doll sought families to drain their joy and vitality during Christmas. The priest gave them instructions on how to get rid of the doll. They had to burn it before midnight on December 24th, but they had to avoid looking it directly in the eyes while doing so. That night, the Parkers built a bonfire in the woods and brought Nick with them. But as they prepared to throw him into the flames, Emily screamed in a voice that was not her own, "No, he promised me the perfect Christmas." The doll came to life, turning its head to face them, its eyes glowing with a sinister red light. The snow around them began to melt and shadows emerged from the trees, laughing eerily. The father lunged at the doll, wrestling it as the shadows tried to drag him into the darkness. The mother, terrified but determined, threw the doll into the fire, shutting her eyes tightly as she did. The doll twisted and shrieked as it burned, its voice echoing throughout the forest. The shadows vanished and Emily collapsed unconscious on the ground. Fire suddenly extinguished itself, leaving behind only a small black box where the doll had been. Parker family tried to return to normal life, but something had changed. The mirrors in their house no longer reflected Emily properly. A reflection would smile even when she wasn't. The following Christmas, a small black box reappeared under the tree. The air in the Parker house was colder than usual that Christmas. The fireplace flickered weakly as if struggling to stay lit. Emily sat by the tree, gazing at the small black box nestled among the gifts. Her parents hadn't noticed it yet. "Mom, Dad, look," Emily called. "There's another present for me." Her parents froze. The mother approached slowly, eyes wide with disbelief. No, that can't be possible," she muttered, her heart pounding in her chest. The father grabbed the box, his hands trembling. It was the same one from last year. The weight, the feel of the wood was unmistakable. He glanced at his wife and whispered, "We burned it. We saw it burn." "We have to get rid of it," she replied, her voice shaking. "We have to destroy it." The father took the box outside, intending to smash it with a hammer. But as he raised the tool, a sudden gust of icy wind blew through the yard, extinguishing every source of light around him. The hammer slipped from his hands, and he heard a faint giggle behind him. He spun around, his eyes darting through the darkness. "Who's there?" he shouted, his breath visible in the cold air. No one answered, but the giggle came again, closer this time. The father dropped the box and ran back inside, locking the door behind him. "Where's the box?" asked his wife as he burst into the house. He looked down at his hands empty. Panic set in. He ran to the living room, and there it was, right under the tree, with Emily kneeling beside it, her small hands already untying the black ribbon. "Emily, no," her mother screamed, but it was too late. The ribbon fell away, and the lid creaked open. Emily's face lit up with joy as she reached inside, but her smile vanished, her eyes widened in terror. "Mommy, Daddy," she whimpered, her eyes filling with tears. "Something's grabbing me." Her parents ran to her, but before they could reach her, Emily's body jerked backward, her arms pulled into the box. Her legs kicked wildly as she screamed, "Help me, help me." The father grabbed her arms, pulling with all his strength. The mother did the same, tears streaming down her face. "We won't let you go, baby, we won't." The shadows returned, this time pouring from the cracks in the walls and the ceiling. Their laughter echoed throughout the room. Dark, elongated hands stretched from the box, clawing at Emily's arms, her clothes, her hair. "No, no, take me instead," the mother begged, her voice cracking from desperation. "Take me instead." For a brief moment, everything stopped. The shadows paused. The hands released Emily, and she fell into her parents' arms, sobbing uncontrollably. But the box wasn't done. The shadows surged forward, grabbing the mother with an inhuman strength. Her eyes locked with her husband's, her face frozen in shock. She didn't scream, she only whispered, "Take care of her." The father lunged forward, but it was too late. The shadows dragged her into the box, her face vanishing in the darkness. The lid slammed shut with a deafening thud. Emily wailed, clinging to her father. They both sat on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably, staring at the small black box. The Christmas lights flickered once, then twice, then they went dark. From the darkness came a familiar sound, a faint, childlike giggle. The father stared at the box for a long time, his face drenched in tears. Slowly, his expression changed. He picked up the box, his hand steady now, and carried it to the fireplace. The flames flickered to life as if anticipating his actions. He glanced at Emily. "No more, Emily. This ends now." He threw the box into the fire. The flames roared. The box twisted, and an inhuman scream echoed louder than ever before. Then silence. Emily hugged her father, tears still falling from her face. She whispered, "She's gone, isn't she, Daddy?" He nodded, his eyes staring into the fire. "Yes, sweetheart, she's gone." But behind them, in the shadow of the living room, the red eyes blinked slowly, watching them.